I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Welcome, 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 welcome to another edition of the Troy Graham Experience. No boxing tonight, y'all. It's Discussion Tuesdays. I want to thank Brother Martin Luther King for that intro. Very powerful. He said, I ain't fearing no man. I've been to the mountaintop, and mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Longevity has its place. That's right. That's right. You know, when you step out on faith and just rock like that, you got a lot of this, people that will come at you. I'm trying to say detractors. That's what I'm trying to say. A lot of people will come at you and say, don't go that way, play it safe. You don't get anywhere by playing it safe. You get somewhere by playing it true to yourself. That's why I chose the topic of discussion for my first Tuesday night discussion show, about Miss Carlee Russell. I'm wondering, what is her crime? Everybody's like, she should be arrested. And what? Arrested for what? People coming out. Well, law enforcement is coming out and said, well, the next time there's a black woman that's kidnapped, we might not react as fast because of her. What? Did they react? Did they react any less faster when when all the white women lied and said that they were raped by a black man or anything like that? Did they react any? No, come on, knock it off. Why would you come out and say that? Because of one person's choice? So now you're going to punish everyone for one person's choice? Where that right there shows the depth of racism in this country. Because of one person's choice and her ethnicity, you're saying that, okay, we're not going to respond as fast when another black woman says that she was kidnapped or anything like that, because we don't know. It could be a Carlee Russell situation. I don't cuss much, but that's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's just flat out bullshit. Because if the roles, how many times did somebody of a different, ethnicity do a fake out? Like like the woman in South Carolina who drowned her children and then said a black man carjacked her and did this, that, and the third. What about the woman who got Emmett Till killed and she lived to be a grand old age and a grandmother? Did they react any slower then? No. So you're going to base this is for law enforcement that's thinking that way, not all law enforcement. So you're going to base your reaction on the next black woman that somebody calls in and says a black woman's been captured or is missing. You could telling me that y'all going to react slower because of one person's choice, whatever she chose to do, and why she did it, I don't know. But you're going to react slower for that. So basically, when that person shows up dead or anything like that, then what you're going to say? Oh, I guess we should have reacted faster. See, that's the attitude I can't stand. When one black person does something crazy or whatever, they're gonna say, well, let's put them all in the same bucket. We're not all of the same mind. We're not all of the same heart. We're not all of the same people. We don't all look alike. Don't all think alike. We don't all move alike. So that's why I don't get that whole Carlee Russell. What she did is on her. It's not on all black women. She cried wolf or whatever she did. That's on her. She had a mental breakdown. That's on her. That's not on every young black girl that somebody's gonna call in and say, "Oh, no, she was kidnapped or she's missing." Come on, man. That's not even. That shouldn't even be part of your mental. It shouldn't even be in your mental. It shouldn't even be there. It shouldn't even come out your mouth. Actually, if you're in law enforcement, that shouldn't ever come out your damn mouth if you're in law enforcement. Okay. I mean, that makes no damn sense to me personally. Exactly, Jess. That's on her and her character. You're absolutely right. You're exactly right. That is on her and her character. It's not on every young black woman that someone's gonna call in and say, "Oh, my daughter's missing, niece, mother, auntie, grandmother, whatever the case may be." It's not on all black women. That's just like, okay, so we all know about Rodney King, George Floyd, and I could rattle off a whole bunch of names. So basically, you're going to condemn all police for because of these police officers. We all know the story of the I can't remember her name right now. Young white girl said that she was raped by a young black man. He was a football star in college. He spent X amount of years in jail. Then she turns around years later and says, "Oh, I lied." How much time did she get for lying? Zero, zero. You didn't hear one law enforcement officer say, "Well, the next time a white woman says that she was raped by a black man, we're going to move a little slower." That never came out of anybody's thought. That never came out of anybody's brain, did it? No, it did not. But as soon as it's a black person, you're just going to throw all of them under the same umbrella and say, "We ain't got to move as fast." And then you have these dumb black people that ride right along with that. "Oh, they're going to move slower now. And they have all right to." No, they don't. You signed up to be a police officer. Do your damn job. You ain't got no right to say, "I'm gonna move slower because this is a black person or this is Latino person or whatever, whatever ethnicity because of this one person's choice over here." No, no, that's complete and utter racist at the highest degree. So knock it off. You know, I can't give you a pass on that. Those in law enforcement that think like that, I cannot do that. I just can't do that, man. I mean, I have a daughter, right? I have a granddaughter. So what happens now? Either one of them, God forbid, something happened to them. We call it in, and they'll be like, "Yeah, well, let's wait a couple of days to see if she show up." hmm That's what y'all gonna do. That's the thing now, right? You're gonna wait a couple of days and see if it's a Carlee Russell situation, and then when it turns out to be a real situation, you wasted time now. The trail is cold. This person could be dead or worse or somewhere dying, and oh, well, I guess we should have moved faster. Yeah, you should have. You should have. But that's one of the conversations tonight, and the other one is, look, yeah, I'm gonna get offended, but transgender women, stop telling women how to be women. You don't own womanhood because you are not a damn woman. You're a man. You were born a boy, and then you might have, if you got to change and then you became a woman, you still should be straight up with your partner and be like, "Look, when I came into this world, I had a penis, and then recently I got that change. Now I have a vagina," and then let them make their choice. Don't be out here, you know, scamming dudes, and they see you online and they think you're a woman, and they meet up with you and da 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 da. You start taking pictures, and then they find out that you're a boy, plastered all over social media about how gay they are when you never were honest with them in the first place. Now, I'll be straight up with you, and I'm a man, 100%. Some of these transgender women, you can't tell they're dudes. You seriously can't tell that they're dudes. You can't. I've seen pictures in magazines online. I'm like, "That's a dude. That's it." I mean, I thought it was an attractive woman, but it was a man or a boy. Knock it off. Because when you get hurt by one of these cats because of pride or whatever, or such flat out rage, what's up, Major? When you get hurt by the pride or whatever because of these dudes lashing out on you, you can't say nothing. You put yourself in that position, be straight up with them and say, "Hey, I know You saw my picture. You think I'm an attractive woman, but I am a boy. I go to the urinal and pee standing up like you. I'm a boy. I wear boxers just like you. I'm a boy. Never mind the red pumps. I wear boxers like you. And my name is not Phyllis, it's really Phil. It's really Phil. So that's, you can't do that, people. Get your ass kicked or worse for that. End up in ICU somewhere, bitching and complaining about, oh, this, that, and the third. You put yourself in a situation. You did. You lied from the onset. You know, don't don't put no man in a situation where you hurt his pride and test his manhood, because a lot of these cats out here will either bury you or break you, one of the two. And then the third choice, a lot of them are strong enough to walk away, but more than likely, most dudes are gonna bury you. They're just gonna bury you because of what you did. And if they don't bury you, they're gonna fuck you up. Excuse my language. And you earned that. You earned it. I'm not an ounce of remorse if that happens. You put yourself in that position. Don't do that to no man. And then you have the nerve to step to women and say that, well, that you can't tell us that we're not women. And listen, don't women. If you're not born a female, you're not a woman. I don't give a damn what you think. Okay, don't come up to me and say, well, I feel like I'm a woman. Well, I will never know because you look like a boy with makeup and a wig to me. So, you know, knock that off. I have nothing against, let me start this in the right way. I have nothing against gay folks, transgender people, and all that. What I have an issue with is them running around telling women, real women, that, you don't own womanhood. Yeah, yeah, they actually do. They actually own womanhood because they were born women. Ta-da! What kind of See, I want to cuss, but I'm not a big cusser, so we're gonna say foolishness instead of the other F word. What kind of foolishness is that? You're gonna tell a woman who came into this world as a girl or female, y'all don't own womanhood, you know? I don't know why you labeling your baby a boy or a girl. I hate that too. I really hate that foolishness. What you mean? Why are you labeling your child? You don't label your child. If your child is born a female or a male, ta-da! You don't label children. They just are what they are. Knock it the hell off, y'all. What kind of world we live in now where they're gonna be looking at you? Is actually groups out here that are against you telling your child that they male or female. I don't get it. Maybe it's my common sense, or maybe that's yeah, maybe it's just my common sense because common sense is not very common in 2000 in this 21st century. It's really not. This is rare, but it's not real common. So maybe it's my common sense. Maybe someone can help me out with why shouldn't you tell your child they're a girl or a boy? And how is it that these men who feel that they women have the right to tell women about their periods and anything else? Can anybody help me? Anybody, please. Because obviously I'm a neophyte when it comes to these conversations. That's why I reached out to the brothers and sisters in the BTQ community. I posted in a lot of their pages, and not to insult them, I just wanted to have a real discussion, because I don't want to sit up here and talk about it. I want to speak to someone who wears those shoes, someone who might be transgender, to have some real dialogue, you know, instead of me just talking and giving you my opinion. I want I want someone from the other side to step up and say, okay, well, this is why we say this, so we could have, we could make sense of all this. Because me being the man, I'm thinking like a man. I can't think and say I can't speak for women. Women could jump up on the panel as well. The link is in there. I can't speak for women. I can't speak for transgender so-called women either. You know, you have to come here and speak for yourself. What I can do is give you this 52-year-old man's point of view. That's what I can give you. Can't give you anything else. Okay, and that's as honest as I can be. No, I got the yellow shirt on tonight, but I ain't running. I ain't running, baby. I'm right here. I'm right here. So yeah, so I want some people to come up here so we can have a discussion, man. Because I could talk about anything. Yeah, why not, Jess? Why not? But yeah, and I definitely want some people to come up here and tell me why Carlee Russell should go to jail. What she need to go to jail for? I mean, other than being an idiot for doing what she did, what law did she break? Who got hurt from what she did? Please don't talk to me about money. You know, you got to think about the man effort and how much time they put in to try to find her. Well, if you're a police officer, I believe that's your job, isn't it? That's why you're a detective. So, what crime did the young lady commit? Can anybody tell me? Anybody, please. What was her crime other than ignorance? See, is there, and what's the sentence for pure ignorance? Hmm? If that's the case, I know somebody right now who should be locked up. Superstar cousin, what's going on with you?
How you doing, Troy?
I'm doing good. First time ever, ladies and gentlemen. Jess from the Ladies of iTalk is here.
Second time.
Second, that's right. See, I'm
Yes.
getting old, Jess. I'm getting old.
Well, I will not touch base on the other topic due to personal reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But as for the Carlee Russell, in my personal opinion, I believe that she should go to prison. She should go to jail.
Now, why? That's a curious
Why?
one.
Because it is against the law to report a crime that did not happen. That is one. Two, she ended up having a lot of manpower out looking for her and a lot of resources that could have been used on someone that maybe was probably going through an actual kidnapping, an actual abduction, a crime that was actually being committed. That manpower could have gone to those people that really needed it, not to someone to, for whatever the reason, if it's the case to where she is mentally disturbed, then I do believe that she needs to get help instead of imprisonment. But if she was in her right sound of mind, which by, in all honesty, all the evidence shows that that girl ain't have nothing mental wrong with her. She just wanted to grab some damn fame and attention. Okay, because for months she was researching things. She knew what she was doing. She know how to do things step by step, you know? So when you sit there and you take the police manpower from other victims that actually need it, for a whole charade, yeah, you need to be punished accordingly. I'm not sitting there and saying, give her like a life sentence or give her years in prison. No, but give her something to where she learns her damn lesson that you can't just sit there and report a fake crime or act like you were being kidnapped, because not only did she act like she was being kidnapped, but she had police out there looking for a baby that wasn't even really out there. Now what happens if when she did that, somebody's child really did go missing, but now they have to have less manpower looking for the baby that really did go missing because they're here looking for this fake baby that never went missing. You get what I'm saying?
I got you, and
So,
all I can say to you is this: I would agree. All of that make perfect sense, but I still don't see a crime in it. I see, I see the wrong in it, but I don't see the crime in it.
mhm.
But here's why I'm thinking
Right.
that way. No. Here's why I'm thinking that way. There was a brother who was dating this white girl. He was in college, right?
Mhm.
It actually made a
Mhm.
movie about this. I can't remember the brother's name, but they made a movie
Mhm.
about this. So they got caught in her house having sex. She screamed rape. He went to jail. It
Oh,
wasn't
I
rape.
know about that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then she comes out years later and said that she was never raped. But how much time did she serve?
Mhm.
None, zero. And she actually committed a
Mhm.
crime that sent someone to jail
Mhm.
for 5, 6 years. and lost his career, lost, he just killed him pretty much. He had to start over from scratch when he came out, and he had that, and that rape will always be on his name. It can't be erased. It's always going to
Mhm.
be there, right?
Right.
She didn't serve no damn time, so
Right,
why
but
should
that's the thing.
why should this girl serve time?
Just because one person, and it just so happens that it was a white person, just because they didn't get punished for their crime, it doesn't mean that everybody there on four, whatever your skin color is, that you have to go unpunished for what you did. The
That's
same way that she should not be held for what she did, it shouldn't be held upon the heads of every African American because she's her own person. It describes her and her character, not every person's character.
well,
So therefore
that's
her
only one
actions
story,
should
but
be
that's not
punishable.
that's only one story, but there's a whole lot of stories out there like that. Now, I'm
Hmm.
only focusing on who got hurt in this situation. I don't see anybody who actually got hurt from what Carlee Russell did. I really don't. I don't see any
But that's
harm
the
that was.
thing. Just because
Mhm.
nobody got physically hurt, it doesn't mean that you get to go unpunished. Okay? Because
Well,
you didn't physically hurt anybody, but you mentally hurt a lot of people because you had a lot of people that were really worried about you. Okay? People that really thought that, God forbid, that could have been the last time that they seen you and stuff like that.
hmm
And like I said, you did something that was against the law. I am a firm believer that if you break the law, then you need to be held accountable accordingly. Now, if
what
it
was your
did turn
crime?
out that she mentally was wrong, like she's wrong in the head, then get that girl some help. Instead of putting her in prison, get her some mental help. Don't lock her up. Get her the help that she needs. But like I said, from all the things that have pointed in her path, it all looks like she was in the right sound of mind. She knew exactly what she was doing. By all her research, she knew what to do, what not to do, what to touch, what not to touch, where to go, where not to go. She knew step by step what she was doing, you know? And she knew that this was against the law to report a crime that was not being committed. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows it is against the law to report a crime that is not being committed.
So she needs to go to jail for crying wolf. Okay, but you said something. You said something that she hurt people. There's people out there that was worried about her. That would be her family, wouldn't it? You know, I, I get that she hurt her family, but shouldn't they take care of that in house? How's
So
her going to
that
jail going
just
to solve
means that you think that people get to go outside and commit a crime and cry wolf on certain crimes and they don't have to be punished for it.
I'm just trying to figure out, what's her crime?
Her
What's her
crime is
crime?
that she reported a fake crime. That is against the law. If you look it up, it is against the law to report a fake crime. That's like if I go to visit, let's say, Major Keys, and then after leaving Major Keys, I feel like I want to draw some attention to myself. So I turn around and I sit there and I'm like, well, you know what? Somebody in Major's house stole $5,000 out of my bag. Turns out I'm just lying and calling bullshit. I done fucked up everybody's reputation in Major's house. I done had the police involved when they could have been doing something, more productive with a victim that actually needed their assistance. But instead, I'm occupying their time for $5,000 that doesn't even exist. You get what I'm saying?
I get exactly what you're saying, but in that case, you actually accuse someone of a crime. So that would be the wrong right there. You accused someone of a crime that never happened. That's the wrong. Whereas in this case, she didn't accuse anybody. She didn't involve anybody. She just did some stupid shit.
And she still should pay the time for that. Whatever it is that they are going to end up giving her, she still should have to pay for what she did. She is not any different as anybody else. Okay, what she did does not get a green pass on it just because she didn't physically hurt anybody, and just because physically nobody hurt her. She doesn't get to have a pass on this. You, at the end of the day, you committed a crime. You knew you were committing a crime and you still went through with your plan. So therefore, you should have to do whatever it is. If it's that they want you to do community service, fine, do it. If it's that they want to put you on probation, fine, do it. Whatever it is that is suitable for the crime that you committed, you should be held accountable for what you do. And that is the problem. A lot of people get away with doing things and they're not held accountable for their actions. And that's what I hate, you know? I hate
Well,
when people sit there and they cry wolf in crimes. I really hate that.
well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to chalk it up on the mental illness and let her do her whatever she got to do, but put it on the
Hmm.
mental illness and go from there because that's what they do with everything.
Yeah.
Shoot, mental illness. So I would just chalk
Hmm.
up the mental illness and handle her accordingly that way. How's
Hmm.
that? Because I don't.
Yeah, I wouldn't chalk it up to her having any type of mental illness at all. That's the one thing that, and unfortunately, because of her doing what she did, it's going to be very hard for anyone to believe that it was mental illness, because once you cry wolf, nobody's really going to believe anything that comes out of your mouth. Therefore, you know. So, like I said, it would have been different if, let's say, one day she was just coming out of work and she just completely snapped and was like, you know what? I'm just going to disappear and I'm going to let everybody think that I'm kidnapped. You know?
I can tell you
Then
where
that would have been something different.
I can tell you where she where she messed up. Because the first thing I question is nobody else saw the baby on the highway. That's the first thing I asked.
Right.
Nobody else saw the baby
Right.
on the highway.
And the thing is that immediately when she called the police and told the police that she seen a baby on the highway, that highway was flooded with police officers looking for a baby that didn't even exist.
Yeah, and how come nobody? I knew all the cars passing by. I mean, how does she have
Hmm.
the eagle eye to see a baby? And then what happened? I mean, to me, if there's a baby walking on the highway, other people would have stopped and saw it too, right? So
Absolutely.
I don't. That's the first thing that made me question all of this. And when I'm like, what a baby on it to me, okay, I said either this is fake or someone set a child out there as a setup and then grabbed her and da 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 da. Da. I thought it was like trafficking, human trafficking.
Hmm.
The
Yeah.
baby was used as a pawn, all right?
Hmm. Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
they set
Like sometimes
themselves
they'll
up.
have a little kid crying on the corner,
Yeah.
and then someone goes up to them and see if they're okay, and then boom,
Boom,
here
someone
comes
gets
the white
themselves in
van, and
hiding.
you're never seen again. Right.
But then I also thought to myself, nobody else saw that child. Nobody,
Hmm.
because I've been driving before, and even in a van when you sit up high, I've seen kids walking on the side of the street in their Pampers. This was when I was in Maryland, right? So
Hmm.
I saw this kid. It was a little white baby walking on the side of the street. So I pulled over across the street and I slowly walked over there. Then some other people came as well, right? I wasn't going crazy.
Hmm.
Some other people came and they were like, what's going on?" I'm like, "I don't know. I saw the kid and I was, come to find out his mother got high and he walked out the
Mm.
damn house."
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
she was high. She was a meth head or whatever she
Hmm.
was. So the police were called, and I don't know what happened after that. But they asked me a bunch of questions because I was the first one there, and I said, "Well, I saw the child," and it just went from there. I didn't touch the child. I just said, "Hey," and he looked at me, and he's like, "Well, I'm hungry," and I said, "Oh, well, where do you live?" And he
Hmm.
just sat there. It was about a four. He was a 4 years old. He was 4 years old. Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah, that is crazy, and that's the first thing that made me think this is another juicy, juicy,
Jussie
smaller,
Smollett.
yeah, situation. That's what I thought.
You wouldn't have it kill me when you guys call him Juicy. I feel like y'all talking about juicy fruit.
Yeah, juicy, small left.
Hmm. Yeah. And let me tell you something. With that guy, I never felt sorry for, and after the media was coming for him and nothing like that, I never felt sorry for him. Why? Because you knew that as an African American, and being that you were gay on top of that, you knew that what you were doing was going to spark something in the media, you know, and you went ahead and you did it. And until this day, he still cries wolf that what happened happened, you know?
Oh,
So that's why I say, like, when people do that, it really, really freaking sickens me when
my
people do that crap and they think that they can just call the police and report fake crimes and nothing gets done about it.
I tell you what, when I heard that he was going to Subways at 2 in the morning, common sense said,
Hmm.
damn Subway open up at no 2 in the morning.
You know,
I don't give a
shoot.
damn what state you in. Subways don't
Now, if you
open
would
up.
have said McDonald's, that might have been a little bit more believable.
You would have said McDonald's or something else that stays open, or Denny's or whatever, right? And
Hmm.
then he said something about the truck and and the MAGA hat wearing thing, and I'm like, in Chicago, in the heart of
Hmm.
Chicago.
Yeah.
Come on, I said, come on, Jess. The first thing that came to my mind, like Subways at 2 in the morning, and how the hell they so
Hmm.
bold? How the hell they so bold to drive through Chicago with their flag and the mega hat and calling people all out their names? Come on,
Hmm. Yeah.
I'm not, look. Chicago is a straight up war zone right now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So you can go there if you want to. I'm not going there. I mean, I had the opportunity back in the day when I took it. I was taking a job with Kmart as a writer, right?
Hmm.
And one of the places they was going to send me was to Chicago or Kansas, and I didn't want to go to either one. So
Hmm.
I turned the job down, and I went. I did something else. Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't even think not. It wasn't. It's Hallmark cards is what I'm
Hmm.
talking about.
Okay.
I,
Okay.
yeah, I don't even know if they're still around. Are they?
Yeah, they are. The
Okay.
stores and everything.
Okay. Yeah. Because I was gonna be a writer. What's up, Bruce? Bruce Gas, Boxing Jazz, and more. He's in the chat. But yeah, this whole discussion. I just don't like. I don't like them saying that to me because it doesn't apply here. That because she did this, the next time somebody black calls in and say that such and such is missing, they're gonna move slower now because of her. Why?
Mm-mm. No, I think that's
Why?
absolutely wrong.
It's one hundred
That's
percent wrong.
absolutely wrong. And I think that if you do that as a police officer, you should lose your badge because of that.
You should lose your pension and everything else too. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you really don't know if the next person that's calling, claiming to be kidnapped, really is being kidnapped, you know?
100%. You
But
can't do that.
yeah, just because she is, I'm sorry, I'm over here like munching on these big old chocolate chip cookies. Lord.
And you know that I don't eat nothing sweet unless I make it myself. Making me jealous. See? There you go.
I'm addicted to these because they're organic cookies. So it's like you feel guilty eating them because you're like, oh my God, all of this decadence. But then you look at all the ingredients and everything is organic. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, the guilt goes away.
Well, nah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, listen, I grow my own mint, right? So
Mhm.
when I juice, I use I'm really into juicing cucumbers, bell peppers, and celery. You might say, well, that sounds crazy. And I put the mint in
Mhm.
there, and I get this lemonade from concentrate. It's frozen, right?
Mhm.
And so I put that in there to give it a little taste. It turns out great, you know.
Mm.
It turns out great,
Okay.
and it's a beautiful green. And let's just say that your boy is very regular. That might be a little bit TMI, but very regular.
Very much so. I cannot with you. No,
But
but I
yeah,
definitely
mhm.
agree with you 100%. If it does turn out to be the case to where the girl is mentally disturbed, then I do believe that she needs to be helped. She needs to, be placed somewhere where she can be observed and she can get the help that she deserves. I don't think that she needs to do any jail time. But if it turns out, which that looks like, the case, that she knew what she was doing and she just did this because she wanted to attract attention to herself, then I definitely do think that she deserves to serve the time suitable for the crime. Whether it's, hey, we're going to throw you in for a couple of months, or we're going to put you on parole, or we're going to have you on a no travel, penalty to where you can't leave this something, just stop letting people get away with the notion that they can commit crimes, whether people get hurt, people don't get hurt, whether you're lying or not. You commit a crime, you have to pay the time.
Well, how about this? Why don't she just go clean up every highway until she find that baby?
That would be a good idea. Since you want to lie and say that there was a baby on the highway, why don't you take your little behind and go? with a little pitchfork and a little garbage bag and clean up all that garbage on that highway. You know, there you go. That's what you could do.
There you go. You can, yeah, yeah, that's right. That's what I.
Yeah,
Hey,
because not everything has to be solved with jail time. Not
oh,
everything has to be solved with jail time.
I gotta send out a shout out to your sister right there, Russia. She's in the chat, and she could jump up here if she would like to. She wants to give her
Hey,
opinion. But
RC.
yeah, but yeah, I just to me personally, what I don't like is everybody the just there's a lot of hate coming back, and I'm trying to figure out number one, what's her crime, and why in the world would you come out and say that you're gonna move slower? You know, the next time somebody black calls in and calls on somebody missing. Because look, I'm gonna get personal with you now, right? Last
Mhm.
month, last month, my son went missing for like 25 hours or whatever have you, right? This is what
Mhm.
happened you know, he goes outside, it's 90 plus degrees, and he dehydrates, right? And he
Mm.
passes out, and somebody
Right.
calls the ambulance. And what, for some reason, the ambulance drove past the two hospitals that are close to where we live, right? And
Mhm.
took him into the city. So, and he didn't have his ID on him, so they had him listed as John Doe, right? So once he got back to his senses, which was like 2 days later, he called. He called and was like, I'm fine and everything else. And but
Mhm.
everybody on Facebook, like his aunties, his mama, and everybody was like, if you've seen him and da 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 da, you know.
Mhm.
And I'm not there. I'm someplace else. So there's really nothing that I could do but just chill out, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So
Well, I'm
yeah,
glad that he was found safe and sound. You know.
me too. Me too. That lifted that heaviness off my heart. But
Right.
at the same time, let's say when we called it in after 24 hours that they had this mentality because of Carly Lee. Oh well, you know, he's black, he probably
Mhm.
lying, you know, we'll just get to
Yeah.
it. You know? No,
Yeah.
no,
Yep.
no, no. I mean, you can't look at one person and put a whole group in and say, well, we're gonna blame everybody in the group because of her. You know,
Absolutely not. You cannot do
and
that. Her
and
actions
mhm.
speak about her and her character.
Yeah, and I hate when they do that. Like, you know, I hate it. They always say, well, you know, if
Mhm.
this, you know, if one black person does this, then all of them fall under the same umbrella. No, we don't.
No,
No, we
not
don't.
at all.
Mm-mm. Absolutely
You
not.
know,
Just like,
I caught a friend of mine's like that one time. A friend of mine's, she had was coming home from work, and she was an RN nurse, and unfortunately, it was a African American male that did rob her. You know, and I get it. You stay traumatized after something like that, you know, and stuff like that. But I remember one time we were having a conversation, and a group of African American people walked past us, and she clenched her bag and she just like stood still. I'm like, girl, you okay? She's like, I don't like black people now, no more. And I was like, excuse me. And mind you, she was a Hispanic woman, and she was like, I don't fucking like black people anymore. They disgust me now. And I said, why? She was like, you remember when I got robbed? I was like, yeah, I remember. You don't let anybody forget about it. She's like, well, the person that robbed me was a black guy. I said, but you just said it right there. A black guy, not black men, not all black people. A black guy, you know? And I began to walk away from her. And she was like, why are you defending them? And I turned around and I was like, bitch, I'm half black. That's why. I'm Puerto Rican and I'm black.
I'll be honest with you. I used to rent cars, right? And I went and
Mhm.
I picked up this lady. You know, I had to pick her up from her house and take it to the office you know, to get her car, right?
Mhm.
From the moment she saw me, she tensed up. I could see her. I could see her from the rearview mirror, nervous. Then I had to stop and pick up my coworker because he had dropped off a car like at this doctor's office, right? So
Mhm.
now it's two black men in the car, and she was just so basically. By the time we got to the office, she started crying and just she was a wreck. So I was like, then I didn't. I was like, "Are you okay?" Then the supervisor came out and said, "You know what happened?" I said, "I don't know." So she ended up telling him that it wasn't us, but she got robbed recently by somebody that was black, and she has issues now with black people. I'm like, you shouldn't have issues with
Mm-mm.
all black people
Yeah.
because how many times did I get jumped and beat up because by dudes that were racist, and I had to fight, got my jaw
Mhm.
broke and all that, but I fought back, right? But when it's ten
Mhm.
on one, or you got crazy numbers on, you can't do too much, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To this day, I don't look at all white folks as the same. I really don't.
Right.
You know, shoot.
Yeah. I've
Hey,
never liked when people want to hold an entire race or an entire community responsible for the actions of one or two people. You know.
yep. I never did that. I never understood either. I never, because me personally, if you do something wrong to me, you're the one that I have a problem with. You
Correct.
know, I'm not gonna
Correct.
say, even though me, I joke all the time. Like if I call you and I call Joe and Mo and the Major and y'all don't answer, what do I say? I say I
Mhm.
calling them Puerto Ricans, right? But that's me messing around. I don't, just messing around, right?
Yeah.
But it's some people that take that joint to heart. I'm like, you
Oh
can't
yeah.
put an
Oh yeah.
entire group of people in the same umbrella because a couple might have offended you. Because if that's the case, let me explain something to you.
Mhm.
I used to go to this Baskin Robbins in my neighborhood, which was owned by some people that were from India, right?
Mhm.
I look Nigerian. Every Nigerian who's Yoruba that's ever seen me, that's the tribe. And they said, "Well, you are Yoruba. You have it. You look, the walk, how you carry yourself. When they see me, they get disgusted. They treat me
Mhm.
bad and all that. So I stopped patronizing them, right?
Mhm.
But I didn't walk around saying I hate all Indians.
Right.
I just said I ain't never going back to that damn Baskin Robbins again, right? That's pretty much what the hell I said. And that's what I did. I never spent
Mhm.
another dime in there. Because
Right.
every time I went in there, you could feel their spirits. You could feel it. I don't know
Mhm.
how else to put it. They would look at me with straight disgust, like, we don't like you, you stinking African. That's the look they gave me.
Mm-mm-mm.
And they were
Listen, it's
serious
just
about it
like,
too.
oh, I bet they're like that. They're very much like that. You know, a majority of them. A majority of them. You know, but it's the same thing goes for like when you're in a relationship and a man gets his ego bruised by a woman. All of a sudden, he hates all females now, and he wants to, sit there and treat all women the same. You know, same thing for a woman. She gets her heart broken by a woman, and now she can't stand men. So she, every time she sees a man, all men are the same. Incorrect. You know,
You know
anybody
what?
who knows me and knows the channel that I come from knows that I've told my story numerous times. Was in a domestic violence relationship for 5 years, you know, and after I got out of that situation, I took time to myself, you know, to get my aura, my energy back to one, to heal myself and everything. But not once did I ever sit there and hold another man accountable for what one man did, you know, because he's not an entire race of men. He is one person. So I've never done that whole holding every single man that comes into my life accountable for what one ex of mine did. I've never been able to do that.
I 100% agree. I mean, if that was the case, then shoot, I would stop dating black women because hell, most of the women I've dated were black, and some turned out good, some turned out not so good. So basically, I'm gonna stop
Mhm.
dating. I'm just gonna say that all black women are bad.
Yeah.
I, I'll be that dude that just chases everybody else. Or be like, oh, she is a fine black woman. Where's her white friend at? Something
Mhm.
like, I mean, come on, this is not me. I
Yeah.
guess
Hmm.
that all comes from your upbringing and the choices you make in life.
Yeah,
Because
and it's all
yeah,
about preferences as well. I've had my own father's side of the family. They've told me I'm a disgrace to the Puerto Rican heritage because I've never really dated anyone within my race. I've always been more attracted to black men. It's my zhuzh, it's my thing. It's what I'm attracted to.
I'll be honest with you. I've always looked at Cubans, Puerto Ricans, Panamanians, all of y'all. I just black people who can speak Spanish to me.
Yeah.
I've never really checked it for anything else. Now,
Mhm.
now I have a niece who is a Spaniard. She was born in Spain and her mother is from Spain. Her father is Jamaican.
Mhm.
She's a Spaniard, but if you ask her, she'll tell you she's 100% black.
Yeah.
She's not a Spaniard. She's 6 foot two.
Oh Lord,
Yeah, her
that's
dad is six
a
foot.
tall drink of water right there.
Yeah, she speaks English and Spanish. She's like this beautiful little soul. You wouldn't think that she's related to me with all my sarcasm, but she's this like beautiful soul, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, man. She's just I just got a lot of love for her, man. Her dad is actually a whole lot more sarcastic than I am. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, but she's just wonderful, man.
That's great. That's awesome.
I see a good conversation going on in the chat with Harold Converse and Sean Connery, man. If y'all want to
I
jump up on
definitely
here.
agree with what Harold just said. I
Hmm.
love what he just said just now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and right, because honestly, just on a side note, you've been on here and seen some of the nonsense that me and Major go through and just the nastiness people post on here, right?
Mhm.
And you were like, this is what y'all deal with. I'm like, yeah, we told you. We told you. Because in all honesty, ain't nobody gonna talk to him like that face to face, and they're definitely not
Oh
gonna
yeah.
talk to me like that face to face, right?
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
because he is what he is in all reality. He's just a real loving, cool guy. But if he feels disrespected, he's very volatile, man. It's just like
Yeah.
most of the people I've met in my life.
Major has no problem being very what's the word I'm looking for? He has no
Mhm.
problem being very upfront and 100% pure with his vocabulary.
Yeah, he's like that. I mean, yeah, because like I said, it's been a couple of times where I was like, I'm not even listening to you, man, and he was just like, see, that drives him crazy because I just don't. When I don't want to hear you, I'm just not. I'm like, I don't give a damn what you say, right? I just don't, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And he'll be
It's
like,
like
see,
we told Major one time. It was
yeah,
a while back. I think it was like last month. He came on our channel and he goes, I want you guys' honest opinion of me. So we gave it to him, and before he left, we told him, we was like, listen, what you need to remember is not every situation deserves your attention. So sometimes if you've got somebody that's coming at you and they're talking to you crazy and they're coming at you sideways, just chuck it up and be like, you know what? Have a blessed day. But I'm seeing my way out of this conversation.
yeah. I tell him that because you know what? I got a brother who's not my blood brother. We've known each other since we was 7 and 6, right? And
Mhm.
when his dad passed, he came to stay with us for a while, me and the grandma and everybody. So she just said that's her pretty white grandson. He's mixed. His mother's white, his father's a Rastaman, right?
Mhm.
So basically, when we used to go out, she used to tell me, "Look, you the tough one, Troy. You like a rusty piece of iron. You have to watch out for him." And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, she has no idea how volatile this dude is, man. He would go from 0 to 60 quick as hell, whether he was by himself or with me, he don't give a damn. That's how he was, right? That's how he was. He's still like that to this day, but he's much calmer now because he's a
Right.
older dude like me, grandfather. But you don't want to same thing. You don't want to slight him or make him feel. If you disrespect him, you're gonna get the same response that Major will give you. This is
Mhm.
very volatile, man. I just attract dudes like that. Most of my friends coming up were good guys, but they're volatile as hell.
Mhm.
Yeah, but they're loyal though. I'll tell you that much. Very loyal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
Con
very
Shanri.
notifying.
Yeah, Sean. Con Shanri was talking about Jamaicans with Irish heritage. People don't know that the second largest group of people that's on the island of Jamaica are the Irish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they speak Jamaican. They actually speak patois. A lot of them speak patois.
I
Yeah,
would love it.
yeah. You just gotta go on YouTube. You'll see them. Just type in Irish Jamaicans. You'll see them. You'll see him on there because I was
I
surprised about
remember when
that.
I used to go and visit my dad in Florida. He had a lot of Jamaicans that lived in his building, and they would all sit down and teach me how to speak patois. But it's been so long since I've spoken it that I can't really remember a lot of what they used to teach me because I pick up on accents very quickly, and I pick up on things like you've seen I've done it with RP. I've said things to her in Russian, and stuff like that. But it's just a thing of mine to where if I'm around somebody that has a very strong accent, in less than, I'm going to say, 20 minutes, I'm already speaking like them, and I just pick up on it, very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, honest with you, when you hear my mom speak and father and all that, you'll definitely say, okay, we Jamaicans. I have some cousins that you wouldn't be able to understand them. That's how fast they
Hmm.
talk. Now, I can clearly
Mm.
understand them, like, but you wouldn't like. Oh, yeah, like I brought my sons around them on purpose because I want them to get to know their culture. And he was like, "Daddy, what's he saying?" I said, "Ask him." He's right there. Yep. And then he would slow it down and be like, "Oh, that's what." Like when I tell people that I was coming up, they just call me, Bagalox, right? If you slow that down, that's bag of locks. That's what they used to call me because I had so much hair,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
But but they talk so fast, it's Bagalox. Nobody knows what the hell
Yes.
they're talking about except me.
Yeah. That's the thing is that in a lot of languages, if you just slow down and listen to what they're saying, it's very easy to pick up on what they're telling you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't speak Spanish, but I've been around so many of y'all growing up that I could pick up some stuff, right? And I'm not just
Hmm.
talking about the cuss words. I mean, Juan the Super, he was Colombian, right?
Hmm.
Even though he told everybody he was Puerto Rican because he snuck over. Long story short, he
Hmm.
snuck over here and all that, right? And
Hmm.
then basically in the neighborhood it was black, white, and Puerto Ricans. No, honestly, it was
Hmm.
black. It was black and Puerto Ricans. We probably had one white family in the whole neighborhood, two white family in the whole neighborhood, right? But
Hmm.
it was just us, just us and the Latinos. And they would teach some of us Spanish, and other times you were just like, "I know what you're saying, man." So it's stuff like that, right? It was just stuff like that.
Oh
But we,
man.
we all got along, man. I mean,
Right.
my biggest crush was a girl named Tanya Rios. Is that her name? She's
Hmm.
yeah, short hair and well, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Her daddy was no
Listen.
joke. Yeah, like
Right.
look, her daddy was like Major, man. Her daddy would come outside
Woo,
and
Lord.
just tear people's skin off their flesh. If you say anything wrong to his daughters, or you feel like
Mm-mm-mm.
you're approaching him,
Mm.
he was no taller than Joe, but he was wide as hell, right?
Right.
But he was another volatile, hairy dude, man. The dude looked like a big, like a little short wrestler, just wide, and he would come out there like, and if he was real pissed, he would leave his house in his boxers and flip flops, and he would mess you up.
Mm-mm-mm.
He was that volatile, come out there talking Spanish, and he always had a machete. He was not playing. He wasn't playing, man.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah, man. But
Listen.
he was cool with me until he realized I had a crush on his daughter. Then he pulled me off one day. He said,
Then the
"Oh,
story don't change.
yeah." He was like, "I think you're a nice guy, but you ain't touching my daughter." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't like to touch you." I didn't tell him that, though. I don't want to get beat up. Yeah, but he was
Mm-mm-mm.
friends with my grandmother, so he basically knew that he used to play the numbers with my grandmother just like everybody else.
Right.
So he knew who I was, but he was like, I see the way you look
Mm-mm.
at my daughter, and I just put my head down. I was about 14, 13, and he's
Uh-huh.
like, "Well, yeah, you ain't never gonna get my daughter." And come to find out, I think that
Mm-mm.
was Major Key's cousin's best friend.
Oh
Long and
wow.
short of it, his family and the people I grew up with run pretty deep with each other. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-mm.
that's another link between us and all that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's just. But I was trying to stay on subject, but you know me, I'll go all over the place. But long and short of it, sometimes I call you out the blue, right? Just hey, right?
Uh-huh. Mhm.
that's because I like the human being you are. I see a lot of compassion and strength in you, and you should have never
Thank
told
you.
that story about your welcome. You should have never told that story about your grandma, because now I'm never gonna leave you alone because I'm a grandma boy to my core. So yeah, yeah.
Oh man, I do believe that I got a lot of the gifts that I have. I do believe I got a lot of them from my grandma. The good ear that like Sean Connery said, the ear is one thing. I remember one time I was in this place with my mom, and my mom had went inside for her appointment, and I stood in the waiting area, and there was a woman who walked in, and she was a French woman, and she kind of felt like she was out of place, and she's sitting there and she's talking in French, and I didn't know nothing about French, nothing. I knew I loved anything that had to do with Paris, and I loved accents and stuff, but I didn't know nothing, not a lick of French. And she sat next to me, and she goes bonjour, and I just turned around and I was like, eh, bonjour, je m'appelle Jessie. And she was like, "Oh," and then she looks at me, and and the little bit of English she knew, she goes, "You speak French?" I was like, "Uh." She goes, "Are you from Paris?" I said, "No, I'm Puerto Rican. I don't know nothing about French, Paris, nothing." And she goes, "Then how did you?" I said, "Because I picked up on what you were saying." I said, "So when you spoke to the person on the phone, I heard what you were saying, and it's not very hard to understand that you were saying hi, and stuff like that." So. I always say that a lot of the gifts that I've gotten them from my grandmother and my mom. So,
Hey, well, like I said, I'm a grandma boy. She raised me. My mom had me young, so she just took me, basically, right?
right.
And she raised me and all that. And I learned a lot about strength from her. Different. My mother is strong too, but my mother
Mhm.
is another one who, when she was younger, she was the fighter. And she's about 5'6" and all that, right? 5'7",
Mhm.
5'6". But from my understanding, the stories I heard about her, she's not to be played with when she was younger. She would, if you owed my, yeah, because my grandmother was a seamstress, right?
Mhm.
And then she would sew stuff for people, and sometimes people would try to jerk her and not pay her. And my grandma and
Right.
my mother, my mom would go there with rocks and bust up every window in their house and dare them to come outside, right?
Mhm.
And all that. And a lot of times she was out there handling stuff and got my grandmother's money.
Hey, listen, we don't play about money.
And then she was on Fordham Road one time buying out school supplies, and she left my grandmother in the truck. Right, they had an F-150, but it was covered, right?
Mhm.
So these dudes on Fordham Road broke into the truck while my grandmother was still there, breaking in. And, grandmother's an older lady. She was fussing and cussing, and my mom came out there. They said she picked up. There was a broken fence or something around, wherever they were, right? So she picked
Mhm.
up the pole from the fence and bust one dude in the head and chased the other dude and was beating him to the point where when the cops were called, the cops were going to lock her up. But the crowd of
Oh
people was
wow.
like, no, she's the victim, right? She's the victim.
Mm-mm-mm.
But if you ask her about that story today, she'll, because she's a grandmother and a great grandmother, she's like, that never happened. I'm like, Mom, I was 15 years old when that happened. I was 15, and she said, "You know what? You know what? I'm glad you weren't there because you're just as stupid as me when it comes to your grandmother." I said, "Yeah."
Mm-mm-mm.
And this was right on Fordham Road, right there.
Mm-mm-mm.
Beat two men down with a pole with her little
Wow.
5'7" tail. Man, she wasn't no joke. She would stand up to men or anybody. She was just like that. I got a brother who's 6'2", 350 pounds, right?
Mhm.
And he's a mama's boy. You can't say nothing to my mother. Nothing.
Mhm.
He's the mama's boy out there. As big as he is, he's just like anything she say goes, pretty much.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so I could understand that.
Yeah.
That yeah, that actually guided me my whole life as to what I attribute, who I like and all
Mhm.
that, based
Yeah.
on based
Absolutely.
on those two women.
Yeah.
But yeah, just oh man, I was hoping to get somebody up here from the other, from the other persuasion, so I could have that discussion because that's a real discussion I would like to have. But
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you know what? I actually grew up in a house with an uncle that was a bi. His first his first marriage was to a woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And his second marriage was to a man.
Uh-huh.
So he was bi. He's the one that actually decorated my grandmother's house, and he could cook. He taught me about good shoes and good coats.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, so I don't have anything against anybody that's like. And he's the one that told me no gay man is that has any respect is going to come up to you if you're not gay. To
Right.
this day, nobody gay has ever come up to me at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can joke with them and carry on, but they none of them they like we ain't wasting my time. We ain't wasting our time with you. You
Uh-huh.
ain't gay. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's stuff that he taught me.
Oh.
It's stuff he taught me.
Yeah, it's good knowledge right there. Good knowledge. But I definitely have to get going. Troy, my darling, it was great
Okay.
coming up here and having a great discussion with you. I have a very long day tomorrow that I have to prepare for.
All right.
You know,
Well.
so if you do head over to iTalk, I will
Mhm.
see you there in a little bit. But it
All
was
right.
a pleasure, and this was a very wonderful discussion.
Well, be safe. And honestly, I had to bite my tongue the whole time you were talking about the chocolate cookies. So I was going to tell you, we all know why you eating them cookies because you like chocolate. But I had to.
You know I do. You know I do. I like my chocolate.
Yeah. All right, Jess. Thanks for coming up.
Oh, see
Thanks for
you
coming
later,
up.
darling.
All right. Uh, it was a good discussion. It didn't go exactly as planned, but you know what? Nothing ever goes exactly as planned. It just goes. And this is a garden that's growing over here. The Joy Graham experience is just a garden that's in growth. And you know that things take a while to blossom if you garden or do anything with growing. You know that everything takes. Thanks, Con Connery. I was about to call you Sean Connery. See that? 007, the Irish version, right? But yeah, things take their own time to blossom and grow and all that. So as it goes, it'll grow. You know, I'm just gonna keep doing these shows on Tuesday. I'll be back again tomorrow night to do boxing with the Three Kings, and then Thursday I'll have another discussion. I'm gonna reach out to either a state politician or a sheriff to do some Q&A on Thursday. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes if I could actually persuade either one of them to come on the show. Hopefully I can because I think there's a lot of questions that people have that they don't have the outlet to reach like a someone in the police department or even a politician. Like there's a lot going on in the world that people have questions about. And so I'm going to bring one or two of these individuals up here and we're going to have a good talk on Thursday. Wednesday, expect the Three Kings to be here. And we're just going to, do what we do. And like I said, when it comes to the boxing, Fridays we might have a guest on because you never know with me. I love to have a live chat with you one time. Hey, I'm here, brother. I mean, I'm here. So you could have jumped on today, brother. The link was on is in the chat. I mean, you can still jump on. The link is in the chat because I'm gonna be on for a few more minutes. If you want to jump on the link, is just scroll up. The link is in the chat about 3 times, right? So, but it's just different things that I want to do, man. I want to do the boxing, but I don't live and die by that. I don't because there's so many people doing just boxing that it gets a little stale and sterile. So my thing is, let me let me do something else. Let me do what I really want to do. Harold, who's in the dark, what's up, brother?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good, man.
Do you remember me by any chance?
Not at all, sir. I can't see you, so I can't know if I know you.
You and me wind up getting into a comment section and went back and forth for a little bit
On
on a
what?
video. I don't remember, but I knew it had something to do with race.
Okay.
Um, and I kept you in mind because I will admit that I was trolling in the comment section for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But you and I actually wound up having an actual discussion there. I mean, we wound up in Messenger for a while,
Are
and
you the
then
dude that's self-employed? Were you self-employed and I said you'd come on the show and talk about your business? Is that you or is it somebody else?
yeah, no, that was me. That was me.
Okay. I remember because at the end of the day, I'm not gonna keep going back and forth with somebody. I'm gonna find something to, I don't like conflict, but I don't run from it, right?
Yep,
That's
yep.
just what I do. And I think I remember the discussion. I think you might have had something to do with Trump and race and da 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 da, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
mhm,
I feel a particular way when it comes to racism
mhm,
as it sits, because it's I've talked to a few different people. I actually have a group online that I talk to people from Canada. We actually have a guy from Jamaica that he's actually 18 years old, just graduated, and really, really awesome kid, man. If I could, I would. I told him I'd employ him here. He's always working out, taking care of himself. Takes pride in his uh, his schoolwork and really strives to graduate. And also had a really hard time during the COVID pandemic, being out of school and stuff. So he said we actually helped him out a lot by being around when he was so isolated and things. So I chat with him a lot about this stuff too, and a couple other people from around the world actually we've gotten to know, and
okay,
the way I hear it is racism has always been different in America than where slavery and such things have happened all over the world, like Brazil. Um, Imported way more slaves than we did in America, but yet it was never really about race down there and things like that. And it always got me thinking, I don't actually think true racism exists. I think racism was a weapon designed to keep us fighting each other so we don't um live together in harmony, because the government, as at the end of the day, the government is a business. The government needs a product. Their product is solving problems. If they don't have problems to solve, there's no reason for the government to exist. And
mhm.
that's why I think they keep this bickering between us going, to keep us irrational and easily manipulated.
Well, that
And I
happened
used
for.
to and I used to think, real racism existed, but then I've gotten to know some people, and I find out it's not the color they hate as much as the culture that exists.
The
And
class,
I
yeah.
and class, because when I was growing up, man, I grew up around the minorities in my neighborhood. Around here, it's not a lot of black people around, but there is a lot of Hispanics around. And I grew up living right next to these people. We grew up together. I still talk to a lot of these people today. We grew up good friends. A lot of them, some of my tattoos have been done by these guys, and we never had a problem up until just recently. I've lost so many friends when I came out as conservative, or I start talking about, or just having conversations like we are now about how I feel about a particular situation. And I hate that people are so quick to just end relationships that have been lifetimes over what's going on right now, and that's why I don't really think it has anything to do with racism as much as it is, like you said, class, um, or people manipulating, making problems bigger than they are, so that you'll vote for them when it comes time for them to have the plan to fix it. You know what I mean? But nothing ever seems to get fixed.
Well, the truth is, there's only a few families that control all the wealth in America. And from my understanding, if they lined up all their wealth, they could go around the earth quite a few times, right? So basically, you don't want the masses of people to know that you're keeping them poor because you're keeping all the wealth. So the best thing for you to do is to start classism, racism, and have them fight amongst each other while you collect all the wealth, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's very simple because I always ask people this question. Every single president that comes into office, has what? What does he have? He has an enemy to fight, doesn't he? Think about it. You go back as far as you like. Every single president that's ever come into office always has a boogeyman to fight, right? Yes or no? Well, he fell off. I guess he'll come back. Yeah, you dropped. Yeah, you dropped
Tech
off. Did you? What's the
technical
last thing you
problem,
heard
my
me
bad.
say? Yeah,
Uh, we were talking about the wealth in the world only owned by three people
yeah.
or three
Only owned by a
families.
few people. And then I asked you a question about the presidents. What is the one thing that every president has? That's coming into office. They actually
Uh,
have an enemy to fight, right?
exactly. Yeah,
Exactly.
there's
They have a
something to
boogeyman
go
to
against.
fight, and then they get everybody's focused on this boogeyman, which is always in another country that really doesn't have a military, but they're so-called terrorists, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So you keep people focused on these things because I used to be in the military, right? So
Yep. You mentioned that. Yep.
yeah, I get to question a lot of things. My family is military. My uncle was in Vietnam. I have other cousins and so forth that served and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's up, Puerto Rican Rum? There's a brother in the chat. So that's how they keep people apart. And then if you raised by people who are not thinkers, because that's what hate is, the people who really don't think. Because I've
Yep.
never in my whole life looked at a white person or whoever and said, "Well, I don't like them because of the color of their skin." You actually have to give me a reason to tell you that you're an asshole. I mean, that's not who I am, right?
Exactly.
If you're
Exactly.
gonna if you're gonna attack me, it should be a whole lot better than something I have no control over, like the hue of the color of my skin. That makes no damn sense to me, right?
Yeah, it's not like we can check a box when we're born on what we want to be, you know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
and that's and that's yeah, it's crazy that people snap to judgments like that. But I brought this up one time and I asked somebody who really gets offended by the language or some of the questions that I raise up. And I asked them, we're a small town, and the town closest to us actually had a law in place that there weren't any black people allowed to live there, within the town.
Yeah.
Now I
What
forget the
state
name.
is this, if
Forgive
you don't mind me asking?
Wisconsin.
Okay, I'm never going
It's better than you think. It's better than you think. No, it's actually was a cool story when I heard about it. There was actually a guy, I forget what his name was. He was a carpenter. First black guy to ever live in Elkhorn and around the area. He had a good name with the community. He was actually one of the few or one of the people that actually broke that stigma and brought it in here. And a lot of people like my buddy's grandmother who had been around that time, um, they didn't hate black people as much as they feared them because she had never met one. She had never come face to face with anybody because they weren't around.
there.
And she said this guy was nice as can be. Always had a good name for himself. Had a house, all this stuff. Next thing you know, uh, things like that happen. Her husband served in the military during World War II, was in the Navy on a boat, and he when he grew up, he was in Ohio. He used to grow up with, he called them coloreds when they were growing up. That's the language that he said. He said, "Oh, I used to play with them. We didn't see that stuff. We were all poor, living in the same community." He said, "We didn't see that stuff when we were growing up." And that's another reason that makes me believe that, that what they're saying isn't genuinely how the majority of America is. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you what, man. You ever watch when I don't know how old you are. You know what age group are you in?
I'm 37.
Okay, I got a daughter that's 31, but I'm 52. But I don't know if you remember a wrestler called Dusty Rhodes. Does the name sound familiar to you?
The name sounds familiar, but
Okay, well
I can't picture him.
he used to say he was an old country boy, let's say from Alabama, right? And
Hmm.
he was the son of a plumber, and he said, "Look, I grew up on this little dirt road, little dirty town, and they had blacks, whites, Native Americans, and as kids, we all used to eat from the same plate. I didn't know it. I didn't know no different, right?
Hmm.
And so basically, that's just kind of where how I grew up. I actually met him one time because we had the big TV that didn't that messed up that I spilled water in the back, so it didn't show the picture. It just had good sound, and we had the
Hmm.
small TV that I used to watch, so I couldn't see everything real good. So I thought he was black because of the way he sounded. And I met him, and I'm like, "You actually white?" He's like, "Am I white?" Right? So basically, you have those people in the world. But then I went to the military, and in the military, you'll be surprised. There's a lot of neo Nazis and so forth in the military, and that's how they get their training. We all supposed to be as one in the military, but it's really not like that. It's
I
really not like that.
my a guy that I do a lot of work with, because I'm technically a subcontractor. I'm what you
Mm-hmm.
call a um I work for whoever's paying me. I call myself a work whore. I'll work for whoever's got the money. But
Mm-hmm.
this one particular guy that done, I've been working with this guy for going on almost 12 years now. Um, his son went through the military, and even he's whiter than snow.
Mm-hmm.
Even he does not like the way the military is set up. And he was upset that they take so much time into this other nonsense than actually training these people for combat and what they're actually there for.
Mm.
And it's ridiculous. That's not what the military is for. It's not for all that
Nah,
nonsense. It's
nah.
for
Yeah,
you're there to defend the country. And I don't think we treat our veterans as
they
good as
treat
they
them like
should be.
shit. All that
They
lies
need to
about,
be
yeah.
they need to be tax exempt. Nobody that has served more than 4 years in the military that didn't get in there for just the bennies and the cushy jobs or nothing. If you served, you should not have to pay taxes no more for the rest of your life.
Can I
That
be
should
honest
be
with you?
number one mandatory on the list.
There shouldn't be any homeless vets. I mean, when you try to get your
No.
money from the military, it takes a long time to get your benefits. It does. And very few people actually get 100%. Very few people get 100%. This is why I hate when I always hear term, what is that they say, thank you for your service. No, you don't appreciate it. No, you don't. I hate that. I just think I don't say that everybody that says it is phony, but it's just that, my uncle had a hard time getting his benefits, and he got a Purple Heart too. He got two Purple Hearts actually. He didn't just get one. He saved lives, right?
Yeah.
And look how it took him forever to the point where he was damn near dying for him to actually get all his benefits, right?
Yep.
It
Yep.
shouldn't be that way. And you know how many homeless vets I've met because when I was serving on I used to go to this church, and we had a homeless ministry, and I used to take my sons with me. We would go out a couple of times a week and feed the homeless and start conversations and pray with them. You know how many of those people are vets? A bunch of them.
Hmm.
A bunch of them because they just didn't get their benefits. And if they did get their benefits, it was pennies. It wasn't 100%, 20%, 30%. I mean, come on, man. I mean, I don't, So, but I wouldn't tell my sons not to join the military. I would say have a purpose, and I would really push them to go to the Air Force because you actually can learn a trade in the Air Force, right? You go into Marines, you're the first ones on the beach, and you kill everything. Then the Army comes in behind you and builds up. So, but I would say go to the Air Force. You still there, or you having some technical difficulties again? Well, I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I know brother might jump back up here, but I'm gonna go for a little bit longer. Then I'm gonna cut her off because I've been on for like an hour and a half. But I want to thank everybody that came out. Russia, uh, what's up?
Yeah, I came back in,
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say that
and
I'm
that
about.
actually
Hmm?
that I wanted to touch one more thing that you said about that. Here's my face, by the way. Um, about the way the military is and stuff. Again, that's the government fucking us over again. You know what I mean? That's because when I thank somebody for my service, I thank them because my pussy ass couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Because I could not do that. I've seen some of the things that our vets have to go through. My great uncle was in Korea. My other uncle was in Vietnam. My great grandfather was drafted in World War II. They did shit I could never do, ever. I couldn't imagine having to go to World War II. You know what I'm saying? Being drafted like that. So I thank him for his service because, yeah, he's doing something I couldn't do. I couldn't do it. So I
I,
thank those people that have the balls to do what I can't do.
I agree. I agree. Is war is just honestly. I heard this quote: "War is old men scheming and young men dying." That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, no war is fought for another country. It's usually fought for land.
Or
That's
money.
really, yeah, you know, that's and when you take over a country, the first thing that this country does is burn all the history book. Well, they salt the earth first, and they burn the history books. So when you salt the earth, what you do is you wash away the spirits that were there before. So even if these people breed again, they're not going to be the same people, right?
Right.
And if you
Right.
wash away their history, and then you come in and you implant your history, now you have control, right?
Right.
It's just that simple. People say, well, that sounds crazy, but why you salt the earth when you first get there? Why do you do
Yeah.
that?
Well,
But
yeah. I mean, look at what the Hitler regime did. I mean, they made it illegal. That's why I feel it's dangerous climate that we're going down when you pitting each other against each other like that, because that's how that shit starts. A
mm,
hatred for another community or group, and now you're starting to vote extreme. I'll admit Trump was extreme, but Trump was a necessary thing, I think, because what he did was get people on left or right into conversation about politics. He got people into politics that normally wouldn't have been there. I'm not saying they all went to his side. I'm just saying we had more people get into politics, I think, than we had before with previous administrations. And what he did was shine a light on all the BS that's going around. And I'm not saying he's the best president in the world, but I'm also saying he definitely wasn't the worst. I think we got him right now. But yeah, I honestly think that's the only reason Trump uh, even should have been voted in was because he did what he did. Not and you know what? I never hear anybody bitch about his policies. It's always what he said,
I
his
don't know what his
rhetoric.
policies are.
Exactly, exactly. No one does, but they don't care. They just hate the person. Hate the person. That's the whole. That's like the whole conversation we're having. Hate the person. Forget what he does. He could be feeding homeless people. Forget what he does. Look what he says. Look at the
Well,
way he acts. You know
I
what I
can tell you
mean?
what my issue
Trump
is
is a
with him.
giant kid with money. You know what I
Mm,
mean? So he's gonna
yeah.
say some stupid shit, like all rich kids do. All rich kids say some stupid shit. Look at these little kids going on TikTok. You know what I mean? And their big ass houses, and they're talking stupid, and they're doing stupid stuff. You know,
Well,
it's what they do.
I'm going to
But
say this. You know, I grew up in New York. I grew up in the Bronx, and I know a lot about the Trump family just by growing up in New York. My issue with him, and it was always going to stay that way, is that I don't know if you heard about the Central Park Five. I don't know if you've heard that story, but
I haven't.
okay, long and short of it, it was five young men, 15, 16, 17, 18 age group. They were all black and and Latino, and they went to hang out in Central Park one summer night, and then it was a white lady that was robbed, beaten, and raped, and they were blamed for it. So he comes out without having all the information, puts an article in the New York Times and Daily News, I believe, and he calls for their execution. Years later, after these kids were ran through the ringer in Rikers Island and everything, they sued New York and they got some money, and they were proven innocent. He has yet to come out and apologize. Even when he was asked to apologize, he says, "Well, I still think that they're thugs." But they were proven innocent because the guy that did it was actually in jail with them, and he finally found a conscience and he decided to fess up, right? And then his family and him have never, because I asked this question to the people who vote for him, who are usually poor and or in the same class as me, which is middle class. The man has come out of his own mouth and said, "I've never held a job." So what do you have in common with him?
Well, there. It's see, I don't think what he says is right. He has held a job. He's an entrepreneur, but I mean that's an umbrella for all those sorts of things, which he is a part of. Kind of like Jay-Z is right now. Jay-Z's was known for music, but now he dabbles in a whole mess of things to get him to where he's at right now, a
Okay,
successful billionaire in America.
I
But
must say this, right? Mark Cuban, who's a billionaire, but he's a self-made
yep,
billionaire, right?
yep, yep.
He actually explained it the best. He said Trump has not built a damn thing. What he does is he find a business that's successful, and he comes in and he puts his name on it and buys them out. He don't build nothing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I wanted to be I wanted to I want to be clear that I did not vote for Trump because and I will admit that I did vote for him, but I didn't vote for him because I like the guy and I want to sit down and do what we're doing right now, having a conversation with the guy or anything like that. I feel that if he was corrupt, I could see it, which we can. We all know what's wrong with the guy. But when it comes to people like Hillary Clinton, you can't see the corruption. And I mean, look at the
Yes, you
scandals
can.
Bill had. Look at the scandals that Bill had. He never came out and faced any charges for perjury, which is what he did. He lied under oath, and we caught him doing it. I mean, most presidents have had some sort of scandal, or they just execute them, like Lincoln and JFK, if they don't play ball. And
That's not, to be honest with you, Clinton. I give you a perfect example. President Obama was a good person and a lousy politician. Bill Clinton.
agreed.
Bill Clinton was a very good, dangerous politician and a lousy person. That's why you don't hear anybody talking about him because they know how dangerous he is.
Yes,
He's very
I
dangerous, but he doesn't. That's no different than Bush Senior, who was the head of the CIA. He's dangerous. You don't hear nobody talking about him either. He's dangerous. He past tense. He passed on. He was dangerous. You
he
know.
was.
So these are not people you want to constantly poke the bear with or anything like that. Because Bill Clinton, he's a great politician. He's just not a good person. I saw that early. I saw
Yeah,
that early. I mean,
yeah,
because
and he did do some good
yeah,
stuff when he was
yeah, yeah,
president.
yeah.
I
He
hear
did some
he
things, but
balanced the budget and all that stuff, but I didn't like him as a person.
you got to think about this: that three strikes thing and the cocaine over that crack over cocaine thing, that was on him. He said that crack was the causes more violence and cocaine. No, it's the
No,
same drug. One is
yeah.
just cooked up and one is just pure. But there's different laws for that, you know? Three
Oh,
strikes
and
and you're out. That's
yeah.
actually Bill Clinton. That's
Well,
Bill Clinton.
look at the marijuana laws now. I mean, dabs in my state are considered a chemically altered substance. So it's actually a felony charge where I live to have a dab. even though it comes from the marijuana plant, which is a lesser felony, or which is a lesser charge. That's just a misdemeanor.
That to me makes no
It makes
sense.
no sense whatsoever. Yet I live in the state known for DUIs. We're on the list several times for cities like La Crosse, Illinois, or La Crosse, Wisconsin, or Eau Claire. A lot of these college towns and stuff like that are known for DUIs. I mean, I know more people with DUIs more than they've had more than 6 DUIs than I do friends, close friends. That's how bad drinking is around here. And it causes a lot of accidents and things like that. Yet that's illegal. But yet marijuana is strict like that. Not to mention dabs being a felony charge. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. Because to me, I've never seen anybody overdose on pure weed. Now, if you mix it with something else, that's different.
I I like the I like the meme that was going around. It takes like what did they say? Like it takes four 4,000 pounds of marijuana to kill somebody dropped from 20 feet. That makes perfect sense because you'll pass out before you reach the plateau or whatever. I don't
Yeah,
know. I've even tried edibles, and I think that's the highest I've ever been was when I tried edibles for the first time. And there's no way I could have done any more. I was half asleep. So yeah, nobody can overdose on it. I mean, the when domestic disputes happen, what's the number one thing that there usually happen? They were drinking,
right. Drinking or something else. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it really is. But, you know, it's all money too. It's all money and control, pretty much.
hmm You
That's
know.
pretty much what it
So
all is. Mhm.
so then I think you and I could agree on the fact that the majority, possibly the majority of America would be just like you and me, you know, not the hating people, but yet the more compassionate, the understanding, the more willing to get along, cooperate, that type of thing. Because I was always under the influence that it was the other way around, where
Mhm.
the majority
Nah.
of America hated each other and everybody was out to get everybody, and the rich hated the poor and the poor hated the rich. And now that I do what I do, I used to think the rich people and all that just held the little man down. And then I got to working for these people, and it opened my eyes up, and I'm like, you know what? I should be making connections with these people, not enemies with these people. These people are making me money. And not only that, I got keys to these people's houses and things like that, and they trust me to do their job. And I got tattoos and things like that. I got piercings and things like that. So I get judged by the way I look on a very small occasion, but it does happen. And usually it's old white men that have a problem with me looking the way I look. But I've never really had any rich person uh, treat me horrible. They've always been repeat customers. Hell, the one customer we've been doing work now since I started doing this 12 years ago, and we were so close to this couple when Eileen, his wife, passed away. We actually attended her funeral and her wake at their house. So we've gotten to know this couple over some years and through some tough times. And I can't I can't I can't think that way anymore where a whole group of people is bad just because of a few bad apples. And when it comes to politics, I think you have to be a bad apple in order to be a politician to a certain point.
No, I think you have to walk a line. Just like, okay, there was a line in a movie I heard that it's very hard to be a good man and a king and a good king. You know, but you can be both. You just have to make some sacrifices. It's just a line you have to walk. You know, because I raised all four of my children, and I told them I taught them about compassion and cruelty. They're all the same coin. It's just you have to balance that out.
Mm,
Sometimes you have to take stuff away, and that might seem cruel, but they'll learn and understand why later.
yeah, there's a long-term effect.
Hate me now, love me later. That's pretty much it. But I'm about to end this show there, good sir, and get ready for the next tomorrow night, which I do boxing talk tomorrow night, and then Thursday I'm working on getting a politician or a sheriff on here to do a Q&A with the people, right?
Oh,
So
nice, nice.
yeah, well, thank you, brother. I guess I must have left you feeling the way you bounced. You came up here at the conversation, so I'm glad I wasn't in one of my moods where I just decided to go for your jugular or something. I must have left a positive. I must have left you feeling positive or something, right?
I'm a very likable guy.
Yeah, I get that a lot myself. But yeah, I can see that. I can see that. But thank you, David. Thank you, sir. And come on back when I have another show, man. Come on back. Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, I do boxing. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I do shows like this. I'm working on making it a open panel Q&A, but I didn't get anyone up here from the transgender side of things, so I couldn't do the Q&A because that's what I really wanted. I want to have an open discussion. So I'll work on getting the sheriff and or a politician or both for Thursday, and hopefully people pop up and ask them questions because that's what I'm doing this for, you know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
I I will definitely stay tuned, and I do appreciate you letting me join your conversation here.
Yeah. But thank you. That's his name. I was trying to the whole time you were talking. As an actor, you saw the Dark Knight Rises, right, with Christian Bale and all that, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, Bane, the guy who played Bane, his name is Tom Hardy, great actor, right?
Very much so.
Yeah, he's in a series where he is this gangster, Pinky. So I don't remember the name of the series, but he has a counterpart in there, and the guy was ready to shoot him because he felt that he crossed the line, and he was like, "But this is the whole scene." So he was like, "Okay, stop. You're not going to kill me because you feel like I crossed some line. Because how many people have you killed, murdered, and chopped up and all that just like me, right? So you can't
Mm,
blame me for doing what I did to your friend because this is the business that we're in, right? You want to kill me, to be very honest with you, because your feelings are hurt. That's why you want to kill me. You don't want to kill me because I crossed the line. And that goes back to the whole Clinton versus Trump thing. They neither man. To me, I think he crossed the line with the Central Park Five thing. But Clinton is no different. He killed his friend on his so-called friend on the plane, and then crashed the plane to cover it up.
mm.
You go Google that. That's Ron Brown. The
I
man's name
I
is
heard
Ron
that.
Brown.
Yep, yep.
That's actually not a lie, but it's not something that you can prove because he crashed the plane and killed
Yep.
everybody to cover up. Ron Brown was going to expose him for something. And that's when I realized that this dude is a great politician, but he is not a good person and he's ridiculously dangerous. And you know who's more dangerous? His wife was the one with all the power before he became president. She comes from a political family. She knows what she's and she pretty much schooled him, right?
Oh, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah,
That's
but at
that's
the
why
same
I took
hmm?
Trump over her any day of the week.
Nah, but at the
I
same
would have.
time, I would never take any. I would take Trump because if you look at the judges now that are on the Supreme Court and what's going on with that, that's why I can never vote for him. And he okay. Listen, to say
So
okay, this
so
mhm.
so I'm just so you're kind of outraged with what, like the affirmative action that's going on right now?
The firm. Okay, how do you feel about that? What do you think that? Why do you think that happened?
I think it's great that we don't have affirmative action right now, but
Hmm.
I think they're ignoring a whole nother problem in the process.
Hmm.
And the reason I don't like affirmative action right now is because there's no need for it. Like I said, there's the majority of people now, we have phones, we have connections. If
Hmm.
somebody's discriminating at a state or federal college, federally funded college, that can be documented. We should be outraged. The community would step up to take care of it.
Okay.
But the
Well.
problems need to be you need to be genuine, not none of this, crying wolf help, because that's what people like me get discouraged. But
Hmm.
I think when now people question it, like, okay, did I get into school by affirmative action, or did I get here because I actually did well?
I don't think
And
anybody
basically
questions that.
what I feel is, it comes down to like voter ID laws too. It's like, okay, black people are too stupid to go get an ID. I don't
That's
I
not
don't get
true.
how that's racist, you know what I mean, to get
That's
an
not true.
ID.
That's
But
there's a
that's
whole lot
what
more.
but that's what I take it as, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's like,
because there's a whole lot more to it than that. That's that just like the whole thing where they tell you that the police need to be defunded. That's not really about money. It's about something else. They just use that term because that's easy to sink into people's mind, and the first thing they think is, okay, well, they're going to defund the police and take money. That's not because I give you a perfect example on that, and then I'm gonna get back to what we're talking about. If you're a bad police, okay, if you're a bad police officer and you do something wrong, and then someone sues the city and sues the department and wins millions of dollars because of you, you just defunded the police your damn self, and you're a police officer, right?
right.
Right. But when he's talking about defunding the police, it's something else. It's not really about money. Now, when I said the when I think about this with Trump and all his decision making, look at the look at him. What he's done, he's not really in there for people like you or me who are of a certain financial class. Everything that he's doing is to help people on his level, but he covers it up by how he speaks. And these people who are in the same class that we are in who are not really getting that because they think that this guy's buying into them. And no, he's not buying into them. There's no law that he's ever passed has ever helped anybody that's middle class or anything like that. I don't
Well,
know.
well,
I don't
well,
know about
do
that.
you do you do you own a business by any chance? Do you do any self-employment or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, during Trump's, because small businesses, as you know, have to go through the same thing. I have to do the same things that Walmart does. You know what I mean? We have to follow the same
Hmm.
rules. We all, we're met with the same things. We're also given the same tax breaks. So the same
Hmm.
tax breaks that let them off, or let them pay less taxes, also benefit me, the little guy, which
Hmm.
sh- which I would love to get rid of all of the tax cuts. I would like to get rid of them all and all just pay a certain percentage. Period.
Well,
That's what I would like to do.
that
Treat everybody the same. Everybody needs to come up to the same level, and everybody can. We just need to push that. We need to quit saying, "Oh, you
not
can't do it
everybody
because of
wants to
such
work for
and such."
themselves, though. Not
I
everybody wants
agree.
to. Not everybody
And
wants to
we
do that.
need people that work for us. And people will naturally put themselves into their own categories if given their own choice.
I got you, but you know what? I also want to touch on affirmative action before I jump off here.
Yep, yep.
All that affirmative action nonsense, it was started for a reason. It was
It was.
started to keep the playing ground fair, and they still to this day need that. But at the same token, there's this thing called legacy, right? And a lot of Caucasian kids get into these schools the same way based on legacy because their grandfathers were in there, their fathers were in there, and that's their legacy, and they're in there. Even if they're dumb as rocks, they're still getting into these schools. A lot of kids would get into corporate America like that. Why? Because their grandfathers and fathers could have started the business, but then it was, they don't, and they sit on the board, even though the dumb as rocks really don't know that much about the business. Their legacy then is different.
Oh yeah, but But that's just wealth. That has nothing to do with race.
No, but it's no. But if you're going to wash away affirmative action, wash away the legacy. It's the same thing, isn't it? Well, no, it's not the same thing. Actually, affirmative action, you still have to earn it and prove it. Once you're in there, just because you get in on so-called affirmative action, you don't get any freebies, you don't get any passes. You still have to work your ass
Exactly.
off.
You
But when
do.
you, but when you're legacied in, you get passes just because your grandfather's name might be on the library or whatever. You get passes. There's nobody getting passes. Okay, look at sports on a whole. Baseball. How many how many black owners are there? I mean, 100% black owners, not a small percentage. Look at basketball. How many black owners are there? Look at football. How many black owners are there? Those are the top three sports. There's zero 100% black owners of any major sports. So when you say that it's not necessary, it's still
But
necessary. When you,
but
it,
but
mm-hmm,
but the players and the coaches aren't treated the same. I think when people want into those player sports, they want in there. I'm not a big on sports. I know
mm-hmm.
nothing about any
No,
of
no,
them.
no. But I'm talking about
But
ownership. I'm not
but
talking about the players.
I know. But what I'm saying is, I think people, and you can see it in the entertainment business and things like that. People want the fame, and there aren't too many coaches of teams that are famous.
That's not
You
true.
know what I mean? Not the majority, you know what I mean? The majority of coaches are not famous, where a good majority of players are,
Yeah, but
you
what does
know,
it have to do about
world
control?
known.
Now, you
What
can
what
have
I'm
fame all you want, but
what
you don't
I'm
control
saying
anything.
is what I'm saying is I don't think people that are striving for things are necessarily striving for that. I think what they're striving for is to be famous, is to be well known. And you're not well known if you own a team. You're known if you can throw a free throw. And I think that's not just specific to that. I
Hmm.
also think it has a lot to do with entertaining and things like that. There's how many? I think there's like 8 billionaires in America right now today that are black. More than half of those are entertainers. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I
but what's the,
think there's a lot to do with that, where there's a culture that where fame is put over
no,
those type of positions.
you're going
In
off on
just my opinion.
yeah, because you're going off on something else. I mean, the whole conversation to me, because
No,
I
I
guess you're
just
looking
don't.
at it
What
from
I'm thinking is people aren't striving to be the head coach or to be a coach of a
that's
team.
absolutely not true. There's been there's been a bunch of coaches that okay, the same thing in football. How long did it take them to have black quarterbacks, black coaches, and still to this day, there's still very few black coaches and all that. Even and then again, back to the ownership. It all boils down to who's in control. Like there's a glass ceiling, like you could get this far, but that's as far as you're gonna go. So this whole thing with affirmative action, it's necessary because as far as we've come in America, there's still so much further to go because we still have black first in this country. Why? It's 2023. Why is there such a thing as black first? Why?
Well, I already told you what I think all this has to do with, and I think it's we need problems, and in order for the government and all these high-powered officials to keep their power is to keep us talking like this, keeping us thinking that we need this, and we don't. As a society, as a whole, if you and me and our communities and everybody around us got together, did things for each other, what would we need government for? The only thing we would need government for is to
Mm.
protect us from invasion. And if we had world peace, we wouldn't need government at all. Why do you think nothing's been, why do you think things haven't been 100% in the last how many years we've been on this planet? We've seemed to never be right. Well,
Control. It's
that's
all
because
about
people
control.
lose the control. That's why. That's why people hate America so much, because we were supposed to be the people with the control. We were supposed to have the power, not the government. And again, I think this is where the government fails. You can put affirmative
Mm,
action in there, but you still have to, like you said, these people in colleges are going to be treated different because of these people. Well, you're not addressing that. You're
Right.
addressing this. That's why I said, yeah, they took away affirmative action, and I agree with that. But
I
now
don't.
they're lacking on the next part that needs to happen, and that's getting people like me, because I couldn't go to college. Like I said, I
Why
grew up
not?
poor.
Why
I
not?
grew up poor, and no, I'm going off of the way I was thinking then, because
Mm-hmm.
I actually did go to college for a half a semester, but I found out that I could be a business owner without putting myself in massive debt, and chose
Mm-hmm.
to do it this way.
Being
and
smart.
and it was the people around me, getting back to my whole point, it was the people around me that got me to where I'm at now. It wasn't the government, it wasn't a government program that got me where I was. It wasn't even a degree. And I went to school for business. I knew when I was younger I wanted to own my own business. That's what I wanted. I
Yeah.
didn't know what, but I did it, and it was the people around me that
Mm-hmm.
helped me do it. I made contacts. I'm well known in Elkhorn, which is that town that I was talking about that had the first black man was a carpenter and whatnot.
Yeah,
Um,
but at the same on the same token, is black folks out here just like you, but the same doors that might be open to you might be or are going to be closed to them for one
and we need
particular
to
reason.
open those
All
doors.
right.
You know what I
So
mean? And
even
I think
even to
those
this
doors could
day,
be
no,
open
no, but even
is by
now
a better
in
community.
2023, is still like I said that that same situation because if everything was 100, I wouldn't be having a discussion about there's no black owners in the NFL. There's no black owners in the NBA. There's no black owners in what's the other in baseball. We wouldn't be having those. Magic Johnson doesn't own the Dodgers. He owns a portion of the Dodgers. He's no major sport, no major team is 100% owned by any black person. It's not like they can't own it, but everything is run by a good old boy system and it's still there. I mean, if all was the same, we wouldn't be having these discussions. But these discussions are still there. We wouldn't be having me. I'm 52 and I'm a grandfather and all that. Cops still come up to me and say I fit the description of what? I fit the description of what? A 52-year-old black man? Yeah,
Well,
you
yeah.
know.
I mean, we kind of all got that. And I've been 100% with you. I've not lied yet about any of the encounters that I've had or anything. There's this one time I was, and I grew up stupid. I grew up in a gang culture. I was affiliated with a local gang. I was not a member of the gang.
Hmm.
So I grew up doing bad shit. I grew up around that culture and how destructive it can be. Um, I was actually living in an apartment at the time. We had a garage, which was attached, like four garages in the middle of a parking lot, and they were all attached. And the owners that lived there, or that managed the apartment complex, were Hispanic. Most of the people in that apartment complex were Hispanic. We were the only like three or fourth white family that lived there. And I don't think it was family. I think it was just people. I think we were the only full white family that lived there with my brothers, my sister, my mother, and my father. But I was actually drinking in my garage with a buddy of mine, and all of a sudden I see the cops pulling up, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And these cops are coming up, and I'm like, I'm just drinking in my garage. I don't understand what's going on here. And they come up to me. They, the owner of, or the manager of the apartment complex, which we've lived there for a long time at this point, longer than they were even the manager, um, said that we were stealing shit out of the garage. And I'm like, well, that's funny. How can you steal shit that's yours? And yet I still had to comply. I still complied. I was doing nothing wrong, even though I kind of was. There was some other things going on there. So I knew I was in trouble, and I thought it was because of that. But it turns out, yeah, it was something stupid like that. where this guy was dumb, didn't come up to me and talk to me, just automatically called the cops on me and assumed something. And here I'm getting searched now because they think I'm stealing shit out of my own house. You know what I mean? It's clearly marked on my driver's license. This is my address. You know what I mean? It's my garage. Yet I still had to do certain things, identify myself, do this, do that. And I complied, even though I knew it was bullshit, you know. But I just think, things like that happen in poorer neighborhoods. You know what I mean? I got stopped one time, held at gunpoint because I fit the description of a Hispanic guy, and I'm white. Just because I was wearing a red shirt, I was wearing, or no, I was wearing a red shirt and jeans, and I get a darker skin tone when I'm in the sun. So they said Hispanic, I got pulled out gunpoint. It really wasn't me that did it. It was another guy. These dumbasses just came and picked me up. So I was just in a bad fucking situation that I had no part of. But yet I fit the description of this dude. I got a $2,500 fine for a quarter of weed and marijuana pipe.
Mm. Well, I
And
tell
he
you what.
said he knew that I did it, or he knew I knew something about it, and he wasn't going to let me off with anything harsher than that. Just
Mm.
because, yeah, I fit the description.
I've been fitting the description since I was 12, but I'm gonna close up shop, man. I'm glad for the conversation, but I gotta get some rest. So I'm gonna close up
All
shop.
right, man. I
For the night.
appreciate it, and I will definitely, hopefully, see you around.
Yeah,
I'll
I'll be here.
definitely
I'll
chime
be here.
in this Thursday.
Yeah, I'll be here 5 days a week from now on. So Saturdays and Sundays, I'm not gonna really do anything. But Monday through Friday, I'll be on YouTube doing my thing.
Sounds good. I'm usually always on YouTube, so I'll hopefully know when you're on.
Yeah, well, I hit up the messenger and sent it to everybody on the list on Messenger,
Yep.
which is probably where you got it, right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's what I do. I just go down the list. I go to IG, do the same thing, go to Facebook, do the same thing, just whoever pops up, pops up. But all right, sir. Thank you for the conversation. I'm gonna close up shop for the night. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right. Take it easy.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Uh,
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it was a night, wasn't it? Conversation started one way about two subjects, and then we stayed on that for a little bit, then talked about a few other things. Then I had a gentleman who I actually got into let's say, a war of words with, and then I turned it around and just tried to make sense of it. This was a while back. This was years ago, actually. I think it was 2 years ago that I jumped on a conservative page, and me and this gentleman here, Harold, going back and forth, and I was like, you know what? If you feel that way, I got a show. You can come on my show and air it out. Da 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 da. Years later, here it is. Oh, like they say, be careful of the seeds you plant in this world, because you never know when they might come back to you. So I want to thank everybody that came out. Ladies of I Talk, thank you. Russia, Jess, Conshonery, Harold Converse, Brother Puerto Rican Rum, Major Key, and everybody listening and everybody that will watch the replay. Appreciate you. I really do. And I'll be back tomorrow with the Three Kings. So bless up yourself. I don't know what song I'm gonna take you out with tonight, but I'm gonna take you out. You know what? I'm gonna change it up. I had something in mind, but I'm gonna change it up a little bit. I'll give you a little Black Thought tonight. I think. Yeah, I think I'm gonna change it up a bit. Yeah, Masters of Our Own Faith is the name of the song. So I'm gonna, and I'm talking to my damn self as usual, right? But yeah, so just chill for a little bit, let it get to where I want it to be, and we're gonna get it going. But I appreciate everybody for coming out, everybody that'll see the replay from here to Africa. Thank you very much for your support. I'm gonna keep growing, so I'm really not concerned with the numbers right now. I'm just concerned with putting out a good product. So there you have it.
Days I used to work for whatever. Money I spent some, lent some, earned some. My eyes tell the hell I returned from. For the homies I haven't heard from. When the urge come, I'm living lurge, never chilling on the curb, just a villain on a verge, son. My 10th shot is as official as the third one, second one, first one, worst come to worst run. When I was pushed out of the womb, the earth spun. The only way to describe this is inertia. Some rappers think they could try me, who the first up? I don't guarantee no survivors, surfs up. Yeah, so long ice, courage and sacrifice, hold on tight and save your laughter for the afterlife. These chumps thinking they good, ain't even half as nice. Your fate to be a one-way ticket to paradise. What? Oh, we are the masters of our fate. That the task we have been set us is not above our strength. That its pangs and toils are not beyond our endurance. As long as we have faith in our cause and unconquerable willpower, salvation will not be denied us. Salvation will not be denied us. In the words of the psalmist, he shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in the Lord.
Thank you, folks, for coming out. Appreciate it. Have a blessed night.